And it's just so much easier just to talk with the people who think like me.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's that principle of like non-judgment, being able to view, observe, and entertain a thought without judging it.
Yeah.
And that becomes extremely hard right now. There was a great study by MIT where they showed two people's networks, and it was looking at their online network and saying which one is more creative and impactful and innovative. And it was employee A and it was employee B and their Twitter networks. And they found that when you know the same people who know the same people who know you back, you end up being less creative, less innovative, and come up with less interesting ideas because you don't have that challenging of thoughts. And so I love that one of your solutions to that, or one of your recommendations, at least that I gained from the book, was this beautiful quality of humility, of being the openness that we have towards other people's views, and not this kind of deep religious belief about the truth of our views and how we're always right. I love that. Let's dive into humility. First of all, I'm fascinated that you brought up humility, because humility is probably my favorite quality in the world. I find it the most endearing thing in the world when I meet someone who has it, especially someone who's very accomplished. And my favorite story about humility, and I'm sure you know this, but I'm sharing it for anyone who's listening and watching right now, is from Benjamin Franklin and his 13 precepts. So Benjamin Franklin had 12 precepts, 12 things that he wanted to live during his life, that he wanted to aspire for. And once one of his friends said that, you're getting a bit egotistic about these things, you're pretty good at it. So he added a 13th one. And then when he was dying, supposedly the story goes that he was asked which one he didn't achieve. And he said it was the 13th one. And they said, which one was the 13th one? He said humility. He said that was the one that he didn't achieve in his lifetime. So humility...
Yeah, another saying that what I think about monks in the Buddhist tradition or Hindu tradition, whatever the monk cuts from his other vices, he adds to his ego, to his pride. I overcame this, I overcame that.
Exactly, yeah. As soon as we feel we've achieved something, it becomes a step on the other side of ego. Absolutely, I completely agree. So I love humility. I'm fascinated by it. What's your definition of humility? And how do we start increasing humility in our lives in a positive way?
Well, I mean, in the book, it's more, again, in the more political and historical context.
Yeah.
And the idea is, don't think you're the center of the world. And this is actually, again, in the book, it's more about collective humility. The humility of groups, of political parties, of nations, of religions. One of the curious things to see as a historian is that everybody thinks they are the most important thing in the world. Even you wouldn't believe these tiny tribes or insignificant nations, they somehow manage to kind of turn the whole history around, so they turn out to be the most important thing. And if you think that, I don't know, if the Chinese think they are the most important in the world, then okay, I can understand it to some extent. But then you go, say, to Israel, and you find this tiny nation utterly convinced that we are the most important thing in the world. The entire world revolves just around us. And it was always like that. That we invented everything. And I use the example of Israelis and Jews because it's not so nice to criticize other nations and other people. It's easier when you criticize your own. But this is not meant as a kind of anti-Jewish or anti-Israeli thing. Whatever your nationality or religion is, now after you finish watching this, do this exercise on your group. And, in almost any invention you would mention, they would say, we invented it first. There is even a story that Jews invented yoga. Would you believe that?
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
The postures of yoga. I in Jerusalem, when I was a student, I went to...
that was definitely India. No.
I went to study yoga with this teacher in Jerusalem. And on the first class, he explained to the students, that lots of people think that yoga comes from India. But no. Actually, yoga was invented by Abraham. And the postures of yoga actually reflect the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The Aleph, the Bet, the Gimel, and people, I quit after this first class. This is not the person I would be studying yoga from. But you have people seriously believing that. And when you look at the great span of human history, it should be obvious that nobody is at the center. Yes, almost every nation or religion contributed something, but most things were, if you had to live your life based only on the inventions and creations of people from your nation, you would have a very miserable life. You'll probably be dead. I mean, if you have to eat only the things that were domesticated by your direct ancestors, like, I don't know, Italians, you must now stop eating tomatoes because tomatoes were domesticated in Mexico and not by Italians. And Indians, forget about these chili peppers. No more chili peppers for you. Chili peppers were also domesticated by Mexicans. And Mexicans, don't put yourself too high because you like your steaks and hamburgers. There were no cows in America before Columbus and no horses. They came from the old world, and so forth and so on and so on. And it's just not just food, it's everything. So really understanding how interconnected the whole humanity is. And that yes, your people contributed something, but it's a small thing. It's not the whole thing. And it's most important, I think, in the field of morality. Because again, I mean, in Israel, there is this very strong belief we invented morality. Before the Jews, there was no ethics in the world. We invented it, and the entire world owes us this huge debt of gratitude because all the morality in the world came from the Jews. And this is absolute nonsense. I mean, even monkeys have morality, even animals. It's millions of years ago. It's in evolution. Some at least social rules of do and don't do. And hunter-gatherers tens of thousands of years ago had ethics long before they knew anything about the Bible. People in India, in China, in Australia had extremely wonderful ethical systems, in many ways much better than anything that came out of the Judeo-Christian tradition long before they knew anything about the Bible. So yes, Jews contributed some things, but don't let it go to your head. You are not so important.
What a beautiful message to end on that message. I love that message. I think it's incredible. If we all looked at our wardrobes, our kitchens, our refrigerators, our homes, our cars, we'd notice that it was inspired by the globe. It was never one or the other. It was never just one place or one country or one region. I think it's such a beautiful message. I have so many more questions I want to ask you. I hope we're going to do this again on nationalism, competition, and a billion other things. But we end every interview with what we call the final 5 quick fire, rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So these are 1 to 3 word answers.
1 to 3 words. Okay.
Yeah, or one sentence maximum.
One sentence.
So this is number 1. What is the biggest mistake we make as humans? 1 word, 3 words, 1 sentence, max.
Underestimate our stupidity.
Nice. I love it. Okay. Question number 2. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Observe your breath.
Nice. Number 3. What is the worst advice you've ever received?
Just follow your heart.
Nice. Okay. Number 4. What's the one thing you want to learn this year? Or you're trying to learn this year?
How the other side is thinking.
Nice. I like that. Awesome. And number 5, if you could get everyone in the world to practice one thing for 30 days, what would it be?
I won't say meditation because it's not going to work. Well, humility.
Right. I love it. Yuval, you are incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping
we failed on the boring
I'm
stuff.
hoping I got bored at one point because otherwise this won't live up to your standards. But we started the boredom movement today. I hope we're going to keep in touch. I hope we're going to be friends. And I'm just so grateful that you took the time to do this. Thank you so much. All the best for all the incredible work you're doing. I'm excited to see how your incredible mind and thoughts seep its way into our entertainment world as well, and continue to help us make education more accessible and relevant. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Share this on Instagram as well. Remember, I'm always looking for your insights, the quotes that you took away. Feel free to share them on Instagram as well. Thank you so much for being here and being an incredible audience. See you guys soon.